Hello, everybody. We are back.
Dr. D. Let's see here.
Dr. Delamond.
His lifespan. That's it.
What?
That's his lifespan.
I know, that's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very sad.
I know, but we haven't even talked about it, so let's not jump ahead.
Spoiler alert. We always say we're going to spoil the shit out of this. Because we're reading it.
We're not holding anything back, people.
I haven't used this expression yet for the last episode, gearing up to this thing, but we're reading this so you don't have to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Good Lord. We'll talk about it. All right, late night snacks. Here we are. Here we are on the beach. We're going to get you on your feet. You're going to walk in down the street. Here we are. Read. Okay. We're reading Wicked. In case you just stumbled across my crazy ass, here we are. I'm me. She's you. Everybody's just do the do.
We are who we are.
We're reading Wicked. Why are we reading Wicked? The whole world's going to get stupid about this movie coming out, and we want to join the hype train. And I don't think there's going to be a hype train, but here we are. Anyway, so we're covering the first part of Wicked. We're going to cover first part of Stage Show. We're going to cover merchandise, but we're on our journey. So we're not talking about anything else tonight, but part 2 of our reading assignment. If you didn't get the reading assignment, it's in the comments of.
It is posted in the description of this video. Yes.
Oh, it is too. Okay. So it should be posted in every reading video of what sections we'll be covering each show. This is show number 2 of our reading along book club Elphaba.
And I do believe we're gonna have what 4?
4
sections.
Start. We're gonna do 4. Then we're moving on to the musical, and then we're moving on to the hype train of the movie. If we get people asking and want to do the rest of the book early, we'll do it. If not, what's up?
Look who's here! Hey, Blaze.
Hey. If we want to do the rest of the movie after the movie, because we're not going to we're not going to cover anything leading into the movie because we don't want to spoil anything for any newbies that are coming into the movie fresh.
Right.
Because there's a lot of population coming into the movie fresh doesn't even know where this all came from and all that crap. So we're giving you all the background you need for the entire franchise, book, musical, all that stuff going into the movie. But we're not going to go past the first movie. Because why? Universal has split this movie up in 2 parts.
Yes.
I'm still baffled, but here we are. Okay. So after the movie airs, after we've done our spoiler review, because we will be doing a spoiler review pretty much right after. So if you want to see every single odds and ends after the movie, come join us. If not, just wait till see the movie and then join us. But after that, voice your opinion if you want to hear us finish covering this before next year. I kind of want to do it next year because I'm trying to prove a point with the whole momentum of this. Because let me tell you, waiting a year to cover the back half of this is going to be grueling. And I think it's going to be grueling for all parts of this.
I think it's
waiting for the movie, waiting for everything.
It's going to ruin the momentum of the whole thing. I think
so. And that's the experiment that we're on. So we'll cover that. We'll cross the bridge when we get to it. Right now, we're on our second reading assignment, which is if you joined us last week and you're new to this book, the book is kind of like the movie, basically The Wizard of Oz, and it's going to carry us through the journey of Oz, following this witch's story. Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West. Her. This crazy. Anyway, we are in part 2 of this, part 2 of our reading assignment, part 2 of the novel as well, and it's called Gilligan, which is the next landmass, the next county, the next place we're going to. For those musical fans, Gilligan is home of Schitt's University, and this is where every single ounce of this part that we're going to be covering today takes place.
This is covering, now just so people understand, this is covering their first year at Shiz.
Into the second year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to cover about 2 years-ish in this.
The part that we're covering tonight covers the first year of Shiz.
Yeah. The big, it covers, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like that first day of school.
I know, it doesn't feel like it, but it does.
First year, yeah. For those of you that are musical fans only and haven't read this book, this is going to go over her entry into Schitt's. What is this feeling? up to the Oscars ballroom, basically, with some stuff later on kind of thrown in the mix. It doesn't follow the same kind of pattern, but it hits a couple beats. Very few, but it hits a couple beats. So we're going to talk about that too as we get more and more into the story. This story is very different from the musical.
Yes.
The more this progresses, the less face of the musical it becomes. They took his novel, which is pretty fucking nuts, and
they took many liberties. Let's just say.
Yeah, the musical is a loose adaptation, a loose inspiration from this book. I would say they're separate mediums. Anyway, we're only in part 2. So
the musical is much more family friendly compared to the book.
Not only is it family friendly, even the themes and the ideas and the relationships, they're all geared towards a good and a bad. A best friends thing, all that. Those things don't exist in this. This is much more complicated. This is much more. Everybody in this is miserable. Everybody in this is dark. It feels like a real slice of life of this girl's journey in Oz, and it's not pretty. Whereas the musical's got this wonderful soundtrack, and everybody's happy, and there's big dance numbers, and everything is glorious. It feels like the musical is full of sunshine. This book is nothing but rain.
The book is very political. Very political.
And we're going to talk about that for a minute because...
We are going to talk about that for a minute, yes.
All right. So, have you grabbed your novel? Grab your book. Grab your iPad, whatever you got it. Don't grab me. All right. We were starting with, that's the next part. Basically, the last journey that we had, and I'm going to read this to you tonight. No, just kidding. I'm not. No. You want to hear somebody read it, somebody that's good, follow the audiobook, which I forget his name. That's the audiobook.
You can get the audiobook on Audible. Highly suggested. You can also find it on YouTube.
He's fantastic. I mean, that guy's. I normally don't like audiobooks because it kind of drives me crazy about da 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 da. He said to her, and da 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 da. Like, I'm so curious about how those Harry Potter cast albums are going to come out because of all the he said, she said they did. Intermittent dialogue. But this guy's talented. This guy's funny. That reads all the different characters, and he does a really good job in his limited range of really distinguishing between the characters. And if you ever want a little piece of enjoyment, I couldn't even possibly begin to mock it. But his Madame Morrible, as we meet Madame Morrible in this section, is I want to see her on stage. I want to see her in the movie. She's great, Madame Morrible. Really, but she's good. His voices are funny. But it is a male that reads this, and prominently a female cast. So very interesting that Mel wrote this and Mel read this and has really tapped into the female story. So I was found that very talented, very, very good insight. So anyway, here we are, part 2. If you're following along with your book, is after what we covered. The first part of this was the whole beginning. Basically, musical fans would know it as the opening number. That's what we covered on our first read, and that was all of this in.
It was all. The first part was basically Elphaba's birth
and her first few years in life, and it followed. They did a better job adapting that in one number, in Glinda's For Good number, our No Mourns the Wicked in the beginning, kind of recapping the story, because that's kind of what this did. Went to a little flashback, recap the story of her birth and everything. It's kind of similar, but now we get into shits. Second part jumps right up to school age, and they're ready to go to school. Here we go. It starts out with Glinda, and she is on the train. I would say.
Yeah, she's on the train.
She's on the train to go to the university, and the beginning part of this section is she's traveling through Gillikin country. She's from where the fuck's Glinda from? She's from the rich place, Quad something or other.
No, Elphaba's from Quadlin country.
Yeah, is she from Gillikin? No, Glinda's not from Gillikin.
Oh, yeah, she is from Gillikin.
Okay, so she's looking down on everything else but Gillikin, and they're in Gillikin. Gillikin's like the hoity-toity area of Oz. It's not the Grand Oz. It's not the Emerald City, but it's not Munchkinland or Quadlin country, which are the poorer sections. And from the way they make it is very caste, as well as just like any other society where people look down on other people, and all your judgments and all your preconceived notions that everybody from Munchkin Land is like this, and everybody
Right.
from Gilligan Country is like this. It's very, very racist in that sense. It's very, structured in someone's brain. Oh, you're from Quadland. Oh, that kind of thing. So she's hoity-toity from Gilligan.
Mm-hmm.
Where the school's located in Gilligan is kind of in between Gilligan and the Emerald City. So they're close to Oz. So they're getting all that Oz, are close to the Emerald City. They're getting all that influence in their fashion and in their way they talk and the way their aspirations. They're all getting that from the Emerald City because they're so close to the city. And Shiz has got a high reputation. It's a pretty prestigious school. People are taught many things. But then as you get deeper into her journey and the people that she's seeing in her reflection in her head, you learn that this is really politically charged as far as like how each caste of people is treated in each of these lands. And you wouldn't be caught dead outside of Gilligan. Why? Because everybody's beneath you.
Right.
And you start to learn real quickly that Glinda is very narrow-minded, extremely narrow-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she only sees the world through her eyes and refuses to see the world any other way. The difference that I found early in her story was she's very different. She's very, very insecure, extremely insecure. But she manifests that in a little, bitchy, rich bitch type of way, but with very little confidence.
Because she thinks everyone is beneath her. Even on the train, when you first meet her on the train, she is with the conductor who goes by and gets the tickets and everything. She looks down on all these people, doesn't want to interact with them in any way, shape, or form unless she absolutely has to.
And I think she puts on those airs because she doesn't know how to.
Right.
And instead of learning something and opening her horizons, she just rather just be a bitch and just not deal with it. There's a point later on we get into the school where they talk about sorcery class. And in the musical, Glinda, that's her only aspiration. Sorcery is like that. The A-listers get to do sorcery, and she, of course, is going to be part of the sorcery program because she's going to be an A-lister. In this, she doesn't know how to do sorcery, so she mocks it off.
She has no idea what she wants to do. Mm-hmm. She wants to get away from Elphaba, and she's encouraged to do sorcery, even though she doesn't really know what she wants to do at this particular time.
And I think she doesn't know what she wants to do because she's scared of it. She's scared of everything. And she manifests her fear in arrogance. It's ignorance versus arrogance with her. But, okay, so they get to school, and Dr. Dillman's there. Dr. Dillman in this, the way I read it, tell me if you've read it differently. The way I read it, he's very much a goat. The manifestation of the animal themselves is very present.
Right.
But it's an animal in a bipedal type of way. I don't think he's on all fours as a goat. He's like the musical kind. He's a standing. He's a standing goat, and he talks, and he's very intelligent. And there's animals, capital A, and animals, lowercase a, in this story. And that's a very echelon societal type of thing. There's the animals that are respected, and they can talk, and they have high intelligence. And there's the animals that are your pets or your food.
Right.
And
then you have the
Oz hierarchy of political unrest wants to suppress the capital A's into the lowercase a's, and all animals are trash. All animals are food, all animals are pets, all animals, and then that's where you get the whole animals shouldn't speak. And hence, what's funny about that is they put very little prominence on that in this book. They mention it, and it's important in context, but the show makes it so huge.
Yeah.
And it's something in the book that's been going on for some time. There's a lot of animals still around in the book. There are many animals teachers. They see oxen teaching. There's a rhino teaching at one point somewhere. So the school is very, very popular.
Zebras and elephants and all of this stuff.
Yeah. Whereas in the musical, they make a very prominent point that he is the last animal teaching at that school. And so we're seeing the heyday long before that has happened. Not gonna happen. Ooh, oh my God. Okay, so we'll get to what happens. So we start out with them just a Dilliman and Madame Morrible, who's the headmistress. She's kind of very similar to her counterpart in the show, but she's also very. They present her evil from the start.
Yeah.
There's no dancing around it. There's no way. Is this going to be my enemy? Oh yes, this right now for this part of the book, this is your enemy. And then you're also dealing with all the high society bitches around you. They're part of this whole problem. But you know that she's the villain twisting enemy. Here we go. We know who our antagonist is, and she's basically the manifestation of what you're hearing in Glinda's mind of what a powerful woman should be. She looks up to that for the start, and it's like, wow, she's emulating this evil because she's knowing better, and she's thinking that she's powerful. She's the head mistress. She demands respect, but I don't think she demands respect. Is put like some of our politicians and leaders and stuff. They get respect out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And Mount Memorial is doing that. And so the whole first part of this book is them getting adjusted to school. We get a lot of that roommate situation. The roommate situation happened very differently. In a sense that
it's the very first thing that happens.
Yeah, right in this chapter. Right after they get to school. What are those nannies called? Up?
Huh?
The nannies. Can I remember?
They're not nannies. They're what is her name? And I just had it at the top of my head because I literally just listened to it.
They say it over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, and now that we're talking about it, I can't say it.
Mm-hmm. It's Up something or other. Anyway, as she looks for it, they all have a caretaker. Basically, all the students there are supposed to come with a guardian, a caretaker of some sort.
Especially the girls.
Yeah,
all of the girls have to have.
Yeah.
Like a chaperone with them at all times.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Chaperone, and nanny, as a servant, assistant. It's all that kind of wrapped into one. But there's this whole society of these people. Anna Clutch. Is that Anna Clutch? Almas.
They're all Almas.
Yeah, the AMAs, the Almas. They're basically the servants. They're guardians. They're any type of parental category you put them in, they do all of that.
Provision, yeah.
So the sorting. Shit, what scratches my name? The choosing of roommates plays out because Glinda's Alma, i.e., guardian, babysitter, whatever, is gone.
She steps on a nail on her way. She steps on a nail and has to have medical treatment before Glinda gets to school. So now she doesn't have her Alma to basically place her where she needs to be. So
Madame Morrible requires everybody to have a roommate. And so instead of a cutesy moment where they're paired together, they're told to be together. There is no coincidence.
Yeah. Madame Morrible puts them together because it's her job.
In the show, we have Elphaba attending school to be basically Nesta Rose's Alma, is the way it kind of plays out in the show. Nesta Rose is not there yet. She's not been introduced to the story at this point. So Elphaba is there to attend school. She's there on her own accordance that she was sent to school, and it has nothing to do with the guardianship of Nesta Rose at all at this point. Basically, Nesta Rose is going to come in late. Third year, maybe, or second year, third year, and
because the two of them, they're 3 years apart.
Yeah, so Elphaba's year 3. Nesta Rose will come into the picture. Like Elphaba will be a junior, she'll be a freshman, and then Nesta Rose, due to her handicap, will require more attention, and that's how they get into that story. But here, she's not. We don't even have to worry about her yet, because that's going to get crazy too. No arms. She's like a. Anyway, so it's funny. So they're paired together, and instead of having a big roommate situation, a popular moment, we get this very distancing. Is okay, they're there. It reads. This is the part of the section that we did read that I really, really like, that I really attached myself to, and that is, it reads very real. When you have two strangers from two different walks of life who right from the jump are going to clash, but yet then ignore each other to avoid that
They
clash.
completely ignore each other. They don't speak to each other for almost a month.
Yes, and reading that and how Glinda presents it, because this whole first section is done in Glinda's viewpoint. You know, we're following Glinda at this point, and to follow Glinda and hear her, it makes you uncomfortable. So that he does a really good job just setting up the stage that these two girls, Elphaba and Glinda, have nothing in common. They are each other's nemesis in the sense that they don't. Everything they hate about another person is manifested in that other person, and then you have the extra coincidence that Elphaba is green, and that is a big deal in the school. She is the only one. She is, and Elphaba actually, surprisingly, and I think the movie's going to play it that way based on the trailers. Stage show, not so much, but Elphaba holds it with pride. She's not. There's no way she's not insecure about it at all. And she wears it. She likes to be that individual. She likes to be that unique, because why would she want to be like anybody else? Why would she want to, conform to everything? Elphaba is a very non-conformist, and it does her well. And whereas Glinda is the epitome of conformist, even on the exact opposite, especially if she fears everything. She just wants to be what everybody is because
she needs everyone to like her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she just wants to be liked, and she goes about it all the wrong ways. Any schoolyard bully or anybody does. Problem with Elphaba, as we're meeting at this stage in her life, is Elphaba is really cocky due to insecurities. Elphaba manifests, I think, her insecurities out of just biting. She's real quick. She's real quick-witted, and she says some really off the cuff remarks without thinking about it, or she does it as a shield, as a defense.
Yeah,
and the people do quick to point it out too. So I think Elphaba's going to cost herself. I think that's the development of this girl slowly becoming the Wicked Witch, or slowly becoming the ability for somebody to villainize her, because she's very put offish when she approaches somebody. She, who was it? One of the other students. It wasn't Glinda that Elphaba was talking to, and she just said something really rude about him. And they're like, Elphaba.
It was Bog.
Was it Bach?
It was Bach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, about the whole month. We'll get to Bach here in a minute. Yeah. So if she sees a fault or something that she's not uncomfortable with a situation or somebody,
I know she'll just blurt it out no matter what.
She has no filter, and that's due to her insecurities. So I think they're going to be able to use that as the book progresses to really villainize her. Whereas Glinda, the good, she's constantly reminded by her friends that she's good. Oh, you're so good. You're so good. No, you're so good. Her friends. She has a gaggle of friends in this. Two really, really predominant ones, but her friends are always around. She surrounds herself by these people, and they are exactly what you would think about a gaggle of people just glamorizing somebody that has.
And basically, her friends are there to basically lift her up and say, "Oh, you're so this and you're so that and you're perfect." And
until they're behind her back.
Yeah.
And then behind their back, they're dropping her off. We'll get to that in the second part of the box chapter. So then, all this crap is going on. Glinda. The other sense that I think Gregory Maguire does a really good job writing Glinda is Glinda has this love of architecture and a love of design. And when he's talking through the eyes of Glinda, the words and the descriptions of everything that he's seeing around himself make no goddamn sense. It's like he'll describe a building structure and it will be 18 descriptive words long. And I'm like, and they're all rhyming words and flourishy words and everything. I'm like, good Lord, what are we talking about? But it's a really neat character trait of writing Glinda. Because it makes the piece feel very period piece. When they talk about different styles, and it really takes you out of, because the characters present themselves very real world, whereas Oz is not real world at all. And Gregory Maguire does a really good job reminding you that you are in this fantasy world, and there's all these unnormal things, unearthly things around you, and he paints the stage really, really well through Glinda. It's Glinda right now. It's Glinda now.
Glinda, yeah.
We don't even go through any of that name stuff after that. It's
not
in the book. She is just Glinda. That's her name. The name to Glinda is what's going to become the deal in the book. Not she's Glinda and she's got to remind Dr. Stillman all the time. It's Glinda. None of that exists.
It's Glinda, not Glinda.
Glinda.
She Glinda,
and that's her name. Yeah. So the one prominent student that we meet, other than Elphaba and Nesta Rose in their whole first year of school, is during the first year, I think, or is it already the start of the second year? I don't know.
No, we're still in the first year.
Okay.
We're
We meet Bach, who is a munchkin.
Yeah.
Bach is a male munchkin, and he knows Elphaba.
Yes.
And if we go back to our beginning phase, we learned that Elphaba's father was this unionized preacher.
Yes.
And there's a kind of a high society point of Munchkinland. You know, a very political picture. And so he does not forget Elphaba at all because of her promise of her father, and of course the fact that she's green. And they were
and they played together as kids.
Yeah, they played together as kids, and he shared life experiences. Elphaba plans it off that she doesn't know this kid, and Elphaba's already showing her things are beneath her as well. You know, like you say, what is this stuff? What are we talking about?
I really don't want to talk about this. Leave it alone. Stop talking about it.
Because I think he's bringing out parts of her life that is embarrassing for her, and she doesn't want to be associated with that. She'll come around with Bach, but why that's important, which I thought was a neat technique, is that fills in the gaps between where we're at and kind of like the 10, 20, 12 years or so or whatever between our early childhood and where we're at now. Oh, I remember this and I remember that. Okay, thanks for the exposition. Here we are. And so Bach is from Musculand, and Bach has, just like in the show, this, hey, no, sir.
Bach is in love with Glinda.
Yeah, obsessed.
She's literally obsessed with Glinda.
And what's funny about this is, like, in the book or in the show, they make it like Bach just sees her from afar. And, oh, Glinda. They know each other. You know, he knows who this is. You know, these are all they run in the same circle. You know, and all that stuff. And Glinda actually is pretty turned on by this, and she actually is really enjoying the attention. Whereas in the show, she just kind of mocks him and puts him off. I think Glinda really kind of wants this until she comes to terms in her own head. He's a munchkin,
right?
And she's like, "Whoa, I can't do this. Even though I like this kid, I can't have anything to do with him. He's a munchkin.
Yeah, he's beneath me. I can't do that.
Literally beneath her. And
I'm supposed to marry someone high society. I can't. Mm-hmm. I can't interact with this person.
Yeah, and I thought that was really sad because for a while there, you're thinking, oh, maybe she's going to go with him. And then she stops herself. She said, wait, no, wait, you're a munchkin. You're beneath me. Oh, that's so sad. Anyway, but then once we learned that that's how she thinks about him directly, then you realize how much she's toying with him because they will continue. She'll continue to toy with him because his whole chapter is next. We get a little more background on him and how his thought process. And I don't want to read another Bach chapter. Get me out of that nightmare.
Yeah.
Because my God, it was a so many page long chapter that set up nothing but them finding a reason to go to Glinda's. What I read in my head was like they were like camping or summer camp or some shit, but it really wasn't like that. They went
to a friend's house.
Yeah.
For like a vacation and
it was like a summer vacation in between the first and the second year, and Glinda's and her friends were hoity-toity and they got to do this vacation, whereas Elphaba and the Munchkins and people that were lower than that or didn't want to go was left behind at school or whatever, and they wanted to go. Now this one was really, really interesting to me because we kind of jump ahead a little bit and you realize that in between that time there had been a really good friendship that had developed between Elphaba and Glinda, because Glinda writes to Elphaba to tell her.
One of her friends wrote the letter.
One of the friends, yeah. But as far as Elphaba and Bach know, Glinda wrote to her and said, "I need you here." And Elphaba was really touched by this. She said, "Well, I've got to go see what she's up to." You know, she's trying to put it off like she's better than that, but then you learn she really wants to go. She's got to go. And Bach's like, "What are you talking about? You're going to go see Glinda? Oh my God, hard on, whatever."
Well, why don't I go with you and blah, blah, blah.
And so they find a way for him to go. And we find out that's really not a thing that he should have done in the first place. Because when he goes, he realizes that he shouldn't be there. And he was not invited there. She was not invited there. Glinda's like throwing a fit like, oh, you guys are so cute, but why are you here?
Yeah.
And
I didn't write the letter, and her friends start laughing at her because they're the ones that wrote it.
tried to set her up to get in trouble and Bach to get in trouble by bringing them down there. And her friends are just as nasty as she is. And Glinda starts to get wind of this, basically like, well, fuck, maybe Elphaba is my friend. Maybe that is the person I want to be with. And then she goes back to her friends, and it's all a nightmare. So nothing happens at this point, except for just a little bit more of a bonding between basically the three of them. And there's another guy friend in there in the mix. There's a second friend of Box that's in there, and then there's at least two of Galinda's friends in there, and all the Amas are around. Holy fuck! Now we got Ama City. And these Amas, I glanced over them because my mind hasn't attached myself to them yet, and they're really kind of hard to follow as far as who's this Amas who and who's doing what and what. They're all there, I guess. They're all always around these kids, and this part ends with them going back to school at the start of the second year, I think.
No, we're not in the second year yet.
But they go back to school because they find Dillman.
Yeah, because there's a break between semesters in the first year. That's where we are.
Oh, that's where we're at. So we're the back half of the first year. Okay, I got it. It's like, okay, I got it. It makes sense, yeah. Because Nestor Rose's not going to come in the second year, is she? She's got to come in the third year.
She's not coming. We don't deal with Nessa Rose until the next part.
Yeah. So anyway, they go back to school. Leading into all this, I missed it, but leading into all of this prior to this whole break in school and camp or whatever, we were learning a lot about how the animals were being treated, that the animals are being suppressed, and that different target groups are targeting them. And this is where the novel gets, I think, overly political, in the sense that the comparisons to things that are going on are so direct that it almost doesn't make sense and read well, because they're trying to make comparisons to the real world. And right now, with us being so politically charged in this country, my mind kept going different places with the politics of it, because it's so direct. You're like, oh, that's the reference to that, and that's the reference to that, even though it was a different time when this was written. But I think I wish you would have wrote it more of an allegory, in the sense that the political unrest in Oz wasn't such a direct correlation to real world. Does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it just took me out of it here and there. But basically, we found out that the animals are being suppressed, just like a big racial movement, just like whole bodies of people being blamed for a certain thing. And basically, they want to take the capital A's into the lower A's and suppress them all and get them all out of the way.
Right.
And we find out that Madame Morrible is absolutely one of the leaders in my think of thinking about this. The school is very pro suppressing the animals. And people of Gillikin are very pro suppressing the animals. We learned that Glinda has picked up this kind of mindset, and they normalize it, which is what startled me the most about how real that sentiment is that you put enough hate out there and you cycle it with enough people, it becomes normalized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it reads. It reads very normal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, animals didn't speak. He's one of the last ones, and it's really sad. It broke my heart to read how much because I'm waiting for a big deal to happen, to be like, oh my God, is somebody gonna stand up and say something? No, they don't stand up and say anything because it's so normalized. It's so regular society. And I imagine that was very much similar to different racial movements that our society's gone through, like during slavery, during the civil rights movements and stuff, that the oppression of people was so normalized. And it took big events to make this happen. Well, we get a big event. We get an event here at the end of this session. Huh?
Yes, we do get a big event, because Elphaba has been working with Dr. Delamont during the break. She's been
Poetry.
He's been dictating things to her, because obviously he can't pick up a pen and do it himself. So
it's all poetry,
she basically got Bach and a couple of his friends that work in a different library that the girls don't have access to get more information on certain things that are being suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So they work together and they bring all this information to Dr. Delamont, and he was putting together, like, I guess, a paper or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Maribel found out about what was going on. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to find out why. and what the end result of all that is.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very end of the part that we just read, Dr. Dillamond is actually killed.
Ah, it's terrible. It's shocking.
It's horrible.
The way it drops on you, it's like watching a movie and going, "Hey, what the fuck?" I mean,
yeah,
it's brutal. It's really. This is
it's
where
really
the novel. This is where the novel, after besides hermaphrodite stuff and stuff in the beginning, this is where the novel really slaps you in the face. How ugly!
Because you're not expecting it in any way, shape, or form.
It's bad, and it upset me reading it the way it was presented because the descriptive moment. I was going to mark the descriptive moment of it. Basically, they cart him out, and everybody that's standing around just sees.
Yeah, they cart him out on a stretcher. And he's covered in like a sheet, and the wind pulls up.
Yeah, very windy that day, and the wind blows off the sheet right in the corner, like folds down, flap in the corner, right at his neck. And what they saw underneath was a twisted, mangling form of Dr. Dillamond that was obviously brutalized.
Yeah, and they slit his throat.
Yeah, and it is so descriptive, and it's so boom, it happens. It's so shocking that the way that he was able to deliver that and be successful at that shocking moment was amazing. But it's just so sad. And then even my heart felt at that moment, this just got real fucking serious.
Yep.
And this is not silly school type things anymore. I was like, it's so mature the way it's presented that I'm just like, okay. It kind of lost me here reading this section. Because I was like, oh God, here we go. I was like, this whole book gonna be like that? I've read this before, but a long time.
I have, yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, this is grueling. I'm like, this is so flourishy. This is so fanatical, and this is so political. And I'm just gonna put me to sleep. And then boom, and I'm in. I'm all in. Let's go because it's so ugly and it's scary. It felt like a very, the environment around me felt when they described this night. Very dark, very rainy, very almost cold.
Windy.
The whole environment was set. Oh, that was good. It was good. And that's where we leave off?
That's where we're leaving off for now. And then next week we'll talk about part 3. This is when we start getting into the next year.
And what's a shame is I don't think the movie's going to utilize this for Dr. Dillamond's story either. Because Dr. Dillamond is utilized very differently in the musical to set up Elphaba's journey to Oz. And he's around a whole lot more. I would love to see the movie do this. And just in its exact same shocking way, I think people will spit out their popcorn if it happened. But basically the way the movie handles this moment is flipping the chalkboard around and oh my God, animals should be seen, not, and it's very
animals should be seen and not heard. That is the big takeaway.
And this is so much more powerful. Granted, we lose Dr. Dillamond, but we see Dr. Dillamond in Act 2 in the play, and it's a very poignant moment for Elphaba because she sees that he is now a full goat and can't speak, and there's that whole thing. So I think that's the route they're going to go. I would rather see it this route. This story, the way it's this story, not the Wicked musical, Wicked Life Size. This should be a miniseries. This should have been put to film because this is powerful. It can't be done in one film though. This has to be a miniseries.
The book is so different from the musical that
I would say if I was going to tagline the musical, I would say Wicked, story of the Wishes of Oz, loosely inspired,
very loosely inspired by the following book. Yes.
If you want to read this book thinking you're going to get the novelization of the musical, you're not getting it. It's so night and day different. The characters are there, their names are there, their ages are there, their schools, they go to the same school, and that's about it. Elphaba's green,
Well, and we're not saying that the book is bad. It's not. It's very well written.
Yeah. It's intense. It's a big old novel.
If this is a story that you're interested in, you really should read the book.
Yes, I agree. I don't think this book will carry me into the play or into the musical thinking I know more about Elphaba because they're different characters, But I'm enjoying the richness of this, and I will carry this, this kind of story with me. But I won't. I don't think my mind will ever go and compare the two because they're not comparable. It's that far apart from each other that I don't think you would ever be like with Harry Potter. You can watch those movies and read those books and be like, it's a direct correlation. Whereas this is two different mediums. It's completely two different mediums.
Well, and remember how we were talking that they're going to change the cover of the book and try and
and
they're basically going to push it towards school age girls.
Less than that, like preschool age girls.
What, like 10-year-olds or something like that? Was that what we thought?
8 and 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy that. Probably the book.
When you read this book, it is definitely not geared towards young adults in any way, shape, or form.
Teenagers, late teenagers is cutting it. Some very, very adult concepts in here. But yeah, if you the marketing's getting ready to hit for Wicked. Come next week, you're gonna start to see a barrage of Wicked everywhere in your stores, and part of that hit is books and literature because it's obviously a literature-based thing. And this novel, like she said, is getting the movie poster cover.
But they're not changing the
Ariana
book.
Grande and there's Cynthia Erivo and they're touching in the sky. And open the book and here we go. Start out with Hermaphrodite. We're going. It's the same book. The book's not been edited. So because where's this book going to sit now in the store? Right next to the Little Golden Book.
Mm-hmm.
The Defying Gravity a sing-along lyric book. The Paper Dolls of Elphaba and Glinda book.
Yeah.
This is porn. This is political porn. This is graphic, and it's going to sit there right there. So, mothers, if you're hearing this, Universal fucked up. Big time. Your 6-year-old girl does not need to be trying to read this. She wouldn't understand it anyway. Your 8-year-old, 10-year-old girls don't need to be reading this and carrying these misinformed ideas. You want to confuse a kid, read this as their bedtime story. It should not have been connected. This should not have been given the movie treatment. This cover should have stayed on this book forever. It should not have had anything to do with the movie. And they say, oh, this is based on a book? The tagline in the movie? Put this book over there in the adult book section. And let people go and find it. Because once Ariana Grande's face is on this, forget it. And I don't even know if Ariana Grande has read this book. I don't even know if she's aware of the significance of how bad, Universal fucked up. And you're going to have Universal Studios, the parks, they're going to start having this big Oz thing. And you got, specialized costume things, and Halloween's gonna be full of Elphaba and Glinda's. It's all marketed toward that 6 to 8-year-old little girl thing. It's I'm gonna buy that book when it comes out and show everybody that text by text is the exact same thing. Yep. In fact, I'll use my copy of my Ariana Grande copy as we continue on. I should.
I don't think I'm gonna buy another copy of the book though.
Don't know. I am just for the sake of this show to show that it's going to exist out there and then I don't think I'm about little golden books and all that shit, but and I think the movie was going to get a PG rating probably, and the movie, the more I look at it, knowing what their marketing is and who they're marketing this to, the movie's going to play to that level. And that's another shame that this movie's going to have, is they're really going to play to that 60-year-old audience. So this is becoming a very Disney-ified, to the extreme, family-friendly level of film. I think they're going to cut out any type of real adult themes in this. And they do exist somewhat in the musical, but I'm curious where they're going to get their additional info from. Because surely, I thought they were going to glean it from the books. Surely they shouldn't. And I don't think they can. I don't think the stories are too different. That you can't glean a lot of this stuff from the books and make it 2 movies. So I don't know what the fuck they're going to do as far as gleaning information. I think a lot's going to come from this prequel, Elphie. They're writing a brand new book that is due to be published or due to come out in stores October, which next month. They're the whole blitz of all this. And it's called Elphie, and it's a prequel to this story. And maybe he was convinced to write that on. I don't know. It's the one sore spot that I have with this whole venture, because I think, and sorry, all you Ariana Grande fights or whatever the Grande Army is, I think she is part of the problem that has pushed marketing this way. Is you have the pop star for the 8-year-old. That is one of the biggest pop stars in the world for the 8-year-old, and they're trying to capitalize on that. And If you look at marketing, Ariana's face is everywhere, not Cynthia's. And this is the story of Elphaba. So we'll see. We'll see when the marketing starts next week. But you can already see stuff starting to appear online and stuff. Dolls. The dolls are everywhere. The Funko Pops.
Dolls, Lego,
makeup, costumes.
makeup.
You look at the makeup costumes.
Movie boxes.
What's the age group on the makeup? 6 to 8 year olds. You know, it's a very young audience. And I hope the movie doesn't play too young, but I think it's going to, unfortunately. So here we are. Got a hermaphrodite. We got a goat. There's some political unrest, and we're getting ready to go into the Ozdust Ballroom next week. Next week, join us for the Ozdust Ballroom. That shit's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have a big old freaking drug and sex fest in the next part. Everyone wants Fiero. Oh, Fiero's not in it yet. Fiero has not. Nesta Rose and Fiero have not shown up.
They will in this next part.
Spoiler alert: let Nesta Rose not have any arms.
In the book.
Why?
She doesn't. In the book, she doesn't have any arms.
And why that's important, I don't know. But oh my god, see, I'm awful because the thoughts that are going through my head is terrible.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm gonna get this thought out of my head. Lord.
All right, everybody. We will see you next week.
Join us next week as we continue with shit. The next 60 or so pages. Reading statements on the comments.
Yes, if you like what we're doing and you want to keep following along, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything the next time we put up another link for another show.
Take a thumbs
up.
Next show
will probably be next Thursday around the same time. So
thumbs up the butt.
Yes, and we will see everybody next week.
Thursday.
And yeah,
Thursday. Same place. Wear a smile on your face.
Yep. All right.
I'm rhyming more and more. Okay, so
I know. Everybody take care, and we will see you next week.
What is this?
Bye, guys.
Yeah.